The dreams God has placed in your heart, the promises He's spoken to you are not going to come to pass without opposition, without delays, without people trying to talk you out of it. There will be plenty of opportunities to get discouraged, to lose your passion, and think that it's not meant to be. But if you're going to reach your destiny, you have to have a made-up mind. If you give up after the first time, or the 5th time, or the 30th time, what that really means is you didn't want it bad enough. There should be something you're believing for that you are relentless. You are not moved by how impossible it looks. You're not discouraged by how long it's taking. You don't give up because people told you no. Your attitude is, if I have to believe my whole life, I am not going to stop believing. I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I'm going to keep pursuing what God put in my heart. You can't be passive and indifferent. You have to have a holy determination. It's more than just your will. It's a fire on the inside, a knowing that it's supposed to be yours. When everything says it's not going to happen, instead of getting discouraged, you kick in to a new gear. Normal people would give up. Normal people would settle, but you're not normal. You want it. When David was 17 years old, the prophet Samuel anointed him as the next king of Israel. But David didn't go to the palace. He went back to the shepherd's fields where it was lonely. He was overlooked, mistreated by his family. When he finally did go to the palace to serve King Saul, Saul became jealous of David and tried to kill him. David had done no wrong, yet he had to live on the run, hiding in caves, spending months out in the desert. He could have been discouraged, thought, God, this isn't fair. You anointed me to be king. Nothing is working out. But David didn't have a give-up spirit. He didn't feel sorry for himself. He didn't let circumstances talk him out of it. He had a warrior mentality. His attitude was, I am not quitting. I am not settling for mediocrity. I know there is greatness in me. I'm going to become who God says I am. One reason he took the throne is how bad do you want what God has put in your heart? Bad enough to outlast the opposition? Bad enough to overlook some insults? Bad enough to do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening? Do you want it bad enough to keep pursuing even when circumstances say it's not going to happen? Many of the difficulties we face, the delays, the times it's not fair, that's simply a test. God is seeing. In Mark chapter 10, Jesus was leaving Jericho. A great crowd was following him. There was a blind beggar on the side of the road named Bartimaeus. When he heard all the commotion, he started shouting, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. The people around him told him to be quiet. You're creating a scene. He's going to get upset. They saw Bartimaeus as insignificant. You're just a beggar. This man, Jesus, he's not going to be interested in you. He's the hottest celebrity around. He's on TMZ every night. The more they tried to quiet him, the scripture says the louder he shouted. About that time, Jesus stopped, turned, and looked at him. Can imagine they thought, we told you. You should have been quiet. He's annoyed. He's going to let you have it. Jesus smiled and said, tell him to come to me. They were amazed. They said, Bartimaeus, he's not upset. He's calling you. They brought him to Jesus. Jesus said to him, what is it that you want me to do for you? Bartimaeus said, I want to see. Jesus told him, go your way. Your faith has made you whole. Instantly, he could see. Here's my point. There were other blind men on the road that day. There were other sick people in the crowd. Yet Bartimaeus was the only one that was healed. Why? He wanted it more than they did. He wanted it so bad, he didn't let people talk him out of it. When they tried to push him down, discourage him, he shouted even louder. If he would have listened to them, other people may not believe when it looks impossible. Other people may settle where they are. They may get discouraged, tell you, don't bother praying, don't bother believing. No use getting your hopes up. You're wasting your time. You have to do like Barnabas and say, God, this looks impossible, but I know you can do the impossible. The odds are against me, but God, I know you are for me. Well, I put in 3 applications. All 3 companies turned me down. I don't think I'll ever find a job. I say this respectfully, you don't want it bad enough. Well, I dated 2 girls. Both of them told me I wasn't their type. I don't think I'll ever get married. You don't want it bad enough. There are several million other girls out there. Well, I want to get well, but the medical report says I'm not going to make it. When the odds are against you, how bad do you want to get out of debt? Bad enough to not buy things you can't afford? Bad enough to not try to keep up with your friends? Bad enough to honor God by tithing your income? How bad do you want that promotion? Bad enough to get to work early? Bad enough to do more than what's required? Bad enough to take that online course to sharpen your skills? I don't want to take another course. I don't want more work. I just want the promotion. You don't want it bad enough. You have to stand. The scripture says Daniel distinguished himself. He was so excellent in his work, so sharp, had such a great attitude that he stood out among all the other young men. The king put him in a position of great leadership. But it doesn't say God distinguished him. God made him excel. God made him stand out. It says he distinguished himself. He was willing to do what the other young men wouldn't do. It wasn't so much that he had more talent, more skill. It was the fact that, do you want to get well bad enough to not drink 43 colas a day and sleep 3 hours a night? Let me move on. Do you want to break that addiction bad enough to not hang around those people that are pulling you down, causing you to compromise? Well, I know these friends aren't good for me, but I like being around them. You don't want it bad enough. God is not going to free you until you roll away the stone. When He sees you doing all you can, then He'll make things happen that you can't. But if you're not willing to do the natural, He's not going to do the supernatural. Your destiny is too important to spend it with people that are not making you better. Who are you allowing to influence you? Are they challenging you, inspiring you, pushing you forward? You don't have time to waste with people that bring out the worst in you. Life is flying by. We don't get a do-over. This is it. Well, what if I hurt their feelings? What if you miss your destiny? What if they keep you from becoming who you were created to be? They may not want it bad enough. They may be okay with mediocrity and compromise and barely getting by in life. That's their choice, but that's not who you are. You have seeds of greatness. You're destined to leave your mark. You weren't created to fit in, to be average, to live with addictions, dysfunction, lack, struggle. You were created to stand out in the crowd, to be a cut above. Now do your part and distinguish yourself. Be willing to do what others won't do. Yes, it takes discipline. Yes, you have to say no to carnal desires, but the pain of discipline is less than the pain of regret. It's hard to bite your tongue, not say what you feel, but that pain is less than the pain of having someone you love walk away. It's hard to lay off the junk food, things that are not good for you. That pain is less than the pain of not being healthy. It's hard to break away from a friend that's pulling you down, but that pain is less than not reaching your dreams. And one of the saddest things is to come to the end of life and wonder what I could have become. What if I wouldn't have let those people talk me out of my miracle? What if I would have broken away from those friends that were causing me to compromise? Where would I be? What if I would have treated my spouse with respect? What if I would have taken that step of faith in my career and not played it safe all the time? You don't have to wonder. You can start right now. It is not too late to become who God's created you to be.